friends, let us continue our discussion on nervous system. Today is the part 2 of the nervous system. In first episode, we have discussed that the brain has two ventricles here, one and two lateral ventricles. It joins in the third ventricle, and this third ventricle joins with the fourth ventricle through a duct called aqueduct of Sylvius or cerebral aqueduct. Now it joins with the fourth ventricle. Likewise, the fourth ventricle continues as spinal cord and it remains within the vertebral column. And both these are externally and internally filled with CSF. The external is brain is covered with meninges that we have seen that this is brain, this is spinal cord. This brain is covered by first one is pia mater. Pia means soft matter, that is soft matter, and then it contains little bit space is there. This is known as arachnoid matter. This is known as pia mater, and the outer one is known as dura means stuff, dura matter. So there is subdural space and there is subarachnoid space, and it doesn't have any space. It doesn't. This pia mater and the spinal cord as well as brain do not have any. This I have told you that this one is known as Genji, this is shard, this is coat. This we have come across. And these three are called meninges, and in case of inflammation of the meninges, is known as meningitis. meningitis. Itis means inflammation. It may be due to infection, it may be due to trauma and other injuries also. So, in case of infection of the meninges is known as meningitis. Now we have come across here itself that there are two lateral ventricles here and joins with the third ventricle. Third ventricle continues as aqueduct of Sylvius, and then it is fourth ventricle which continues as spinal cord. Clear? So, if you can remember these four ventricles, two lateral ventricles, and this is third ventricle, this is fourth ventricle, and this one, aqueduct of Sylvius. If you can remember these four, then it will be easier for us to understand the brain as well as to write the brain whenever it comes in the exam. 90% of the students do not attempt this question because they find it difficult and they attempt some other alternatives. But it is so simple. Let us go through that, how it is so simple. Now, actually whenever there is development of the brain, initially the brain remains like this. There are two or three protuberances. Forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. During the course of development, these forebrain profusely developed like this. Exceptionally developed, because this is the site of intelligence and other emotions, everything. So intelligence, everything is there in the cerebral hemisphere. This cerebral hemisphere actually covers or overlaps the midbrain as well as a little part of the hindbrain. That's why it remains difficult there. What is there inside. But this we will learn in such a way that we will consider this and we will go one by one. Now, let us see. Let us start with cerebral hemisphere. That is, brain is divided by three. Number one is forebrain. Clear? Number two is midbrain. And number three is hindbrain. Up to this, there will not be any difficulties. Forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain is known as rhomb prosencephalon. N-C-E-P-H-A-L-O-N. Midbrain is known as mesencephalon. And hindbrain is known as rhombencephalon. So these three we should remember: prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and rhombencephalon. Okay. Now these forebrain, we will consider this and we will study one after another. It will be easier, not very much difficult. Think prosencephalon is divided into two. A is cerebral hemisphere. Cerebral hemisphere, and B is diencephalon. Now, this cerebral hemisphere, it is so developed that it covers the other parts of the brain. So this cerebral hemisphere actually, it is (2,200 square centimeter). How much? It is 2,200 square centimeter. This is 1 square centimeter. It is, if you taste it in an adult, it is 2,200 square centimeter. It is more than the skull. This is skull. This internal surface of the skull, it is this 2,200 square centimeter is more than that. So as a result, what happens? It remains folded. So this cerebral hemisphere remains folded like this, like the sari of the girls. It is folded. So since it is folded, it becomes bigger. And now this folding is there. Here, this folding is there. So on the right side there is folding. On the left side there is folding. That is, in the right side 1,100. On the left side 1,100 square centimeter is distributed within the cranium. So within the cranium, what we have seen, that this is covered. This cerebral hemisphere is covered like this. But we remember that forebrain contains these two ventricles. So in this side there is one ventricle, in this side there is one ventricle. On the other day, what we have said that forebrain, it contains this, but it does not look like that. Suppose you think yourself that this is a right hemisphere and this is left cerebral hemisphere. Within the cerebral hemisphere, the lateral ventricles are like this. So it is flat, little bit flat. It is not that much deep inside. So it gives CSF, supply of CSF to entire parts of the cerebral hemisphere. So it is flat in size. Like this, it is flat in size. It is flat in size. This area is fully covered here. This fat. So it remains here inside and it supplies CSF nutrients and everything. Some waste matters also passes out in the CSF and CSF through it. So these two lateral ventricles are in the cerebral hemisphere, and the cerebral hemisphere is 2200. What? It is area, total area. Total area is A. Area is 2000. Now it remains, since it remains folded, so it should have this one and it should have this one. This one is known as GYRUS, gyrus, and this one is known as SULCUS, sulcus. Gyrus plural is gyri, sulcus is sulci, SULCI, sulci. So the ridges are known as gyrus. These are ridges, 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 and these are depressions. Depressions. So I am writing here, the cerebral hemisphere has foldings. What foldings? The cerebral folding is sulcus, is the depression, and gyrus is the ridges. Clear? This sulcus is known as fissure. Fissure. Clear? Now, think over the hair of the ladies. You will see that they used to keep half of the hair in this side, half of the hair in this side. So this they covers the right cerebral hemisphere, left cerebral hemisphere. Of course, we do not put our here. We used to do it a little bit left side. So think for single time that this cerebral hemisphere is divided into two. So if you open it from above, you will see that there is a depression here. There is depression. This is a sulcus. This is known as fissure, and it extends from the front side to the back side. So it is known as median fissure, or we call it as cerebral hemisphere, and another one is also cerebral hemisphere. Cerebral hemisphere, cerebral hemisphere. This one is right, this one is left. So in between this, we observe what is known as fissure. It is known as central fissure or central sulcus. So we will say central fissure, which divides the two hemisphere from above in two halves, in right half and left half. If you take it right half in this way, left half in this way, it will be there. But it doesn't fall down, because these two, although it remains open on the upper side by fissure, that is central fissure or longitudinal fissure, but in the below side, on the base, it remains joints with corpus callosum, a fibrous foot, thick nerve fibers. So cerebral hemisphere two remains differentiated by central fissure or longitudinal fissure. And then it remains joined in the base by corpus callosum. These two cerebral hemisphere covers the entire. And this cerebral hemisphere contains what? Lateral ventricles. So we should draw lateral ventricles. So these lateral ventricles are there in the cerebral hemisphere. Thereafter, the cerebral hemisphere is developed. Cerebral hemisphere is developed and it covers the third ventricle also. So what we should say? That this forebrain contains lateral ventricles, number one, as well as the third ventricle. This third ventricle and lateral ventricles are there in the prosencephalon. Clear? Now, we'll go to the part B of the cerebral or the forebrain or the prosencephalon. Prosencephalon is divided into cerebral hemispheres and diencephalon. Clear? Now, what is this diencephalon? So this part is known as this part of the cerebral hemisphere, the upper part is known as cortex and inner is medulla. Now this cortex is grey in color. It is grey in color. Why? Because we know that the cell body is grey. It remains fitted like what is called tiles. Like tiles, it remains fitted, and this is like tiles, and these the fibers, action and neurons are there. These are the cell body. This is the action and neuron. So it remains fitted one after another, like this. It is flat in shape, and it remains. It is grey, and inside it is white. So it appears grey. Now, this diencephalon is in the third ventricle. Third ventricle is, it contains the third ventricle, diencephalon. Now, how will differentiate this diencephalon? First, we should do one thing. This cerebral hemisphere is up to this cerebral hemisphere. We'll cut it. Cerebral hemisphere cut. And what is left? This is diencephalon. So diencephalon contains, simply write, contains third ventricle. So, third ventricle is inside the diencephalon. Now, to remember, actually cerebral hemisphere is also known as telencephalon. Is known as TELEN, telencephalon. So, very difficult. Prosencephalon, mesencephalon, rhombencephalon, then diencephalon, then telencephalon. It is not that much difficult because I have borrowed it from some lectures. There he has said It is diencephalon. Diencephalon means Diana, that big lady Diana. Whenever Diana is sitting here, the all the telescopes are at Diana. So this is telescope, it is telencephalon. There is cerebral hemisphere. So telencephalon, inside it is the third ventricle, that is, it covers the third ventricle, it is called diencephalon. Clear? Up to this, we will conclude today. We will start from diencephalon tomorrow and we will do the continue our study in this way. So what? Let us recap that during the course of development of the brain, the cerebral hemisphere or the four brains enlarges and it remains. It suppresses or it covers the mesencephalon as well as rhombencephalon. And this contains cerebral hemisphere. It is 2,200 square centimeter, and since it is more than the inside of the cranium, the surface area, so it's remains folded. The fissure is known as sulcus. The ridges are known as gyrus. Two cerebral hemisphere remains separated by central sulcus. And it remains joined at the base by corpus callosum, the nerve fiber. And there are two lateral ventricles within the cerebral hemisphere. And then come the diencephalon. Diencephalon contains third ventricle. Here we will write thalamus, hypothalamus and others will go because it is a little bit difficult and we will make it very easier for you. Till then, you write it down, take rest. We will come tomorrow. Thank you very much.